Hello again, friends, and welcome back to Free Pokemon Cards. Today I am coming at you with a little bit of a different video, and that is because I am about to do my first submission to have cards graded through PSA. And with that, I thought we would talk a little bit about pre-grading your cards. And so pre-grading your cards may or may not be important to you. If you are really gunning for PSA 10s for your collection, or you are looking for the value proposition of grading PSA 10s, you really want to be pre-grading your cards because it's pretty easy to do, and if you get a PSA 10, it's going to make you money, and if you get a PSA 9, you'll be lucky to break even, because usually the value of a PSA 9 is just the value of the raw card plus what it costed you to grade the card. And when you add in shipping and time wasted waiting for them to come back, it's not worth it. Now, if you're dealing with vintage cards where PSA 10 population is really low or non-existent, or if you just want it in the PSA case for your, to protect it for your own collection, it doesn't really matter about the pre-grading. But so what they're looking for when they do the grading is the edges, the centering, the corners, and anything with the surface. Centering can be tricky, but they say it just needs to be within 60-40. And so that's kind of, they make a tool to see if it's within 60-40, but I feel like it's pretty easy to tell with the naked eye. I've also heard that they're a little more serious about the centering on the front than they are on the back. And then the other thing is sometimes it's not just left to right or top to bottom. The whole centering can be kind of off kilter. And then the edges, you just want to make sure they're nice and straight and clean. Corners, similar thing, except for also sometimes the cuts on the corners may not be perfectly rounded. They can be kind of squared off, so that's something to look for. As for surface issues, usually you're looking for like print lines, which are pretty easy to tell. You'll see like a horizontal or vertical line that pretty much goes through the whole card. The only other surface things that might be hard to see is sometimes there could be like a speck where the print didn't quite print right, or it'll be like a white speck and it didn't like print at all. But so these are the cards that I'm sending, and because it's my first time pre-grading, I went ahead and I took notes on each card, because there are, everything doesn't have to be perfect, but so I took notes on any of the imperfections. That way, if I do or don't get a 10, I can try to rationalize what it was about the card and adjust my pre-grading game. And so I'm just gonna go through and show you the cards that I'm sending in. There's this Charizard V-Star it's a promo out of the Charizard UPC, and I thought it would be cool to get a PSA 10 because I have the Mewtwo V-Star card out of Crown Zenith, which is kind of like the brother-sister card to this. You can see in the background there's Mewtwo fighting Charizard, And in the background of the Mewtwo card, you can see Charizard, so they kind of go together. This one, the centering's not perfect, but it definitely looks within the 60-40. And one of the corners is cut slightly angular. It's not like perfectly rounded. And so part of the thing I'm doing with these cards is a lot of them have like one slight thing wrong with them. And so that's part of how I'm kind of testing the grading system to see how accurate I am. That, and if the card looked like perfect, like you can't tell anything wrong with it, and I have a couple cards like that, but not that I'm sending to PSA, and that's because if it's totally perfect, it might be worth it to you to try and send it to Beckett to get a black label. And that's what I'll be doing with my cards that I can't find anything wrong with. Because, you know, the Beckett black labels will fetch you quite a bit more money than a PSA 10. And if it comes back from Beckett as just a Gem Mint 10, values are similar to a PSA 10, so no loss there. But so that's the Charizard V-Star. Then I have a Charizard V-Max, also a promo out of the Charizard UPC, and this one is the centering's like damn near perfect on it. The one thing I'm kind of testing with this is I've noticed on some of these holographic cards, the edges are like really clean, but you can kind of see like some reflective foil on the edges. And I don't know if that's something they ding you for or not. And so I figure if it comes back at 10, that's not something they care about. But if it comes back at 9, then maybe that's something you want to look out for in the future. Something I've also noticed with almost all of these cards except for one, and I'm just talking you through it because if I tried to actually show you these flaws on camera, you know, you're not really going to be able to see it. But what I've noticed on almost all Pokemon cards, because I've been pre-grading all my hits just to practice, is you'll see these little, like, on the very tips of the corner, the edges are like crispy and nice, but there'll be like one white speck where I don't know if it's like how they cut the cards, but there's just like a slight bit of like loose cardboard, but like I just call them white specks. And some of them it's just on one corner. I think on one of these cards, and actually it might be this card right here, it has like the white speck on all three corners. And so if this one comes back at 9, I'm kind of figuring that's the issue there. So the Charizard VMAX, got this cool Eevee card out of Twilight Masquerade. Now this one, the centering is like super perfect, front and back. And this one just has the white speck issue on one single corner. So hoping this one comes back at 10, and then I'll know that at least having one little speck like that's not a big deal. And I'm not sure which Steelix is which in these card protectors, but one of these is like super perfect, and then or no, one of these has, it's the same thing, has just like one speck on one corner, because if it was perfect I'd be trying to send it to Beckett. And then one of these doesn't have any of those like white speck issues, but the one of the edges has just like the ever so slightest like wobble to it. And so again, that's kind of like a case study where if, you know, if that makes it a 9, then maybe that's the reason. Then we got the Mew EX out of 151. This one is, this one's pretty perfect on all counts. I think there might be one slight corner thing again, and then Altaria EX, and same thing, one of the corners has that slight speck. So also you want to make sure to send them out, they want them in a card sleeve, and then they want them in these semi-rigid card holders. And you also want to make sure they sell 2 different sizes of these semi-rigid card holders, where one of them will specifically say for grading card submissions, because I think they're bigger, so it's easier to get in there and pull the card out. So those are all things you want to try to make sure to do before submitting your cards and trying for your highest chances of a PSA 10. And so I guess the process can take 45 days, something like that. And so I will do a follow-up video and see what the grades are and go over the notes and yeah, see how I did and try to make any adjustments. I also made notes because I have some cards that are in slabs already, and once it's in the slab, it's kind of hard to tell. Like, I have PSA 9s and 8s, and it's kind of hard to tell in the slab what the issue is, because a PSA 9 looks pretty perfect, especially because you can't really see the edges when it's in a slab. You can see the surfaces pretty decently, but so take some notes, and yeah, so I will be doing a follow-up video to this video, and be on the lookout for the next pack opening and giveaway video. And until next time, keep on catching.